Welcome back to the Activation Phase podcast. This is Tim, and I'm with JP. Say hi, JP.
Hello, everyone.
So we're doing the first episode of the Age of Hannibal today, and I think the spotlight today is for the Romans because we're going to look at them again. We looked at the Romans from Age of Invasions, and today is the time for the Age of Hannibal Romans, which are the Republican Romans. Do you have a short history lesson for us on them, JP?
So this particular Roman faction, one of many, represents the forces of the Roman city-state. It's from the book. It says 309 BC. So far in the history, and obviously this is covering the Punic Wars. So I'm guessing 290 BC, something like that.
Yeah.
So way in advance of your Age of Invasions Romans. So
Right.
aesthetically they look quite different. But you're so it's also pre the very famous Lorica Segmentata. Probably said that incorrectly, but the kind of like your standard Romans, what you believe, like with the square shields and everything like that. It's not quite that period yet. So
not the Imperial.
no,
Romans
just
yet.
wait for it. If you have those guys, wait for the Age of Caesars, and you'll probably be able to use those. And the Romans will get yet another board.
Probably. I mean, they're basically in every book because they have been around for like, I don't know, 2,000 years.
Yeah, they kind of stuck around a little bit too long. Anyway,
right. That's a hot take right there.
So for the troop types, you need to make a choice in terms of what your warlord is going to be. It can either be a consul, who is a standard Saga warlord, or a tribune, who has some special characteristics, which we'll explain later. And a consul can fight on foot or from horseback, and a tribune is always mounted on a horse, because he's obviously too wealthy to be walking around among the peasants. So your Hearthguard have no equipment options. One of warriors can be mounted on horseback. Other units of warriors have no equipment options. And then finally, your levies are equipped with javelins. All right. So there are a few restrictions just to kind of represent the organization structure of the Romans. So the number of non-mercenary Hearthguards cannot exceed half the number of non-mercenary warriors on foot. All right, that's a very convoluted sentence. And then the second one is the number of non-mercenary levies cannot exceed the number of non-mercenary warriors on foot. So yeah, you're basically stopped from doing levy spam, basically.
Yep,
I'm not sure why you would want to do it, but still. That's that point aside. It just represents that the kind of the mainstay of the army were the warriors rather than your youngsters running around the field with javelins. They do have some special rules as well, so this will impact the way that you play the board itself. The first one is the maniples. So this is how the Roman military actually fought and how they organized themselves, and some of the battle board abilities are limited to maniples only. So only Hearthguards and warriors can take advantage of this rule, and you need to be, not a mercenary, first of all, are fighting on foot without equipment options. So that excludes the warriors, the mounted warriors, and then also contain a maximum of 8 figures when your warband was deployed. So if you recruit, or if you like running big blocks of warriors, this one isn't for you.
Yeah.
And they don't gain the rule if they kind of get depleted and lose some figures and get under the 8 figures. So finally, the tribune. So if you remember, that's the option for the warlord that has to be mounted. So he's a little bit of he isn't a fighter. He's more of a tactical genius, and
he's a talker.
He's more of a pointing people towards what they should be doing. So he has 1 Saga dice. He's got an armor of 5 in melee, 4 against shooting, aggression of 2, and he's just equipped with a horse. So he has the special rules: bodyguards, determination, presence, resilience 1, and we obey. Plus, when he uses the we obey rule, a tribune can activate 2 units with an S instead of the usual 1. But he doesn't have the pride rule. So That's actually not too bad. I don't think that's a downside. And then the second rule is Icon of Rome. So this represents that he's a charismatic leader, and the range of the bodyguard special rule is extended to M. If your tribune dies, it inflicts a fatigue on units in play rather than just on the table with an S. So yeah, he's not much of a fighter, and you don't want to get him killed because you'll be dropping a lot of fatigues, basically. All right, I guess that's the special rules rounded up. How would you describe playing the Romans before we dive into the battle board?
Okay, so I feel like they're really like specialized at surviving fights. I'm not sure if they're amazing against shooting, but they're really good against fights. And if you have them in like the smaller units of like 8 warriors or the 6 Hearthguard, they're gonna be so tanky because all the abilities make them incredibly hard to shift, and like they can cancel fatigues that they would suffer if they close ranks, and they're gonna close a lot of ranks. It's what they do, and they just stand together and survive all the barbarians running at them. But they're not super amazing against the barbarians shooting at them, in my opinion. So I think they're amazing if you're in for a scrap, and they're not amazing if you're going to get shot to death.
So most of their damage will be done in melee.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's a little bit of a weird one where they're actually very, very defensive, but they can actually move around reasonably well for a foot-based warband as well.
Yeah, they can.
So
yeah,
it's kind of it's not like the Britons that we just covered where they're somewhat slower. Want to turtle up here? You can move around a little bit more. Let's begin then. I'll grab the top row. So nothing special there. All right.
Cool.
Moving on.
Well done. All right. So the first advanced battle board ability is a good one, I think. It's called, and this is going to be tough, like Stabili Gradu or something. It's an orders reaction ability that takes 2 uncommons, which is expensive, of course. But until the end of this turn, all manipul units who have closed ranks cancel the first casualty, suffered in step 5 of any melee, and suffer no fatigue at the end of the melee if they have not disengaged. So if they don't have to fall back, they don't suffer fatigue, and the first casualty that they take just is ignored, which is obviously amazing on Hearthguard. And this is it just keeps them alive for so long because the Hearthguard just don't die. The opponent usually doesn't get more than 1 or 2. That's probably the top already. Hits through your closed ranks Hearthguard units anyway. So this is so good. I think this is amazing. But it's super expensive, of course. But if you build your warband around using this ability, I think it's super worth it. If you don't, then probably not.
And again, like you said earlier, this is just in melee. So if you play this and your opponent has the option to shoot at you instead of engaging you in melee, then they'll probably choose just to shoot at you this time around.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Otherwise, you're just gonna exhaust, or you're just gonna get a fatigue bouncing off some warriors that close ranks, and you're gonna end up with a fatigue, and they're not going into their turn. So it puts you at a pretty big disadvantage if you're playing against the Romans here.
Yeah, I feel like if you're in an objective-based scenario and have warriors that are holding an objective, or have Hearthguard that are holding an objective, playing this is just going to be super annoying for your opponent because they have to do something and they kind of can't in melee. So I think, yeah, this is very situational, but in the right situations, crazy powerful. In the wrong situations, like kind of useless.
Yeah, like feasting and pillaging, you're not going to get the marker back from them if they're holding.
Absolutely, yeah.
This can be pretty amazing as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. And I think this also mitigates some issues surrounding being the first player as well, because you play this in your opponent's turn, and then you're not going to lose a bunch of objectives right at the end, for example.
Yeah.
But then you do have to roll the two uncommons. But anyway.
In the end, yeah.
All right, so the next one is Pilum. So this is just a common, an activation or activation reaction ability. and this is only for your warriors on foot, so very, very specialized. Activate the unit for a shooting attack with a range of M. Then activate the unit for a charge against the target of their shooting attack. The charge generates no fatigue. Or trigger this ability after an enemy unit is activated to charge, but before the charge is resolved. Activate the charged unit for a shooting attack with a range of M, targeting the unit that is charging it. All right, so there's a lot of words on this one. Possibly one of the longest pieces of text on the battle board so far. Let's start off with the first paragraph. So this is you get a lot of value for just a common here, because you get to shoot, then you get a charge, and also it generates no fatigue. So I think this, even if it was just this part by itself, like it's already an amazing activation ability. Like that's a lot of value for just a common. Comparing this to in Age of Invasions, when you have something similar with the Plumbata of the Romans, which requires an impetus, and then there's also I guess you get more shots, but of a lower quality, basically. But then you don't get to activate the charge behind, kind of at the end of this.
And takes an uncommon.
Yeah, uncommon or rare. So on that front, this kind of like a similar action. These early Romans were definitely more trained up, which I suppose is kind of
which is
kind of fluffy, I suppose. And then let's move on to the second part of this. So this is the one where it's an activation reaction, basically, or it is an activation reaction. So if someone charges you, you get to shoot at them with a range of M. So this is really only relevant if someone's within M of when they declare a charge. So if you're charging in with some cavalry, you're not going to get this, but for infantry, you'll be able to get a shooting attack against them. I think this is a lot weaker than the first section, because here you're only getting I guess you want a mana pool, so you're only getting 4 shots against with your warriors.
Yeah, it's true. And one more thing to say about the first part, it's you compared it to the Pumbate or something. I think one thing that's holding it back is that you have to shoot, and that shoot generates a fatigue. So if you move and then shoot, you will get a fatigue and then charge without fatigue. So that means you do end up in melee with 1 fatigue. But obviously, if you start your turn within M of an enemy unit, then this is bonkers good. But if you don't, then you kind of take the fatigue for the shooting and then not for the charge. I think that's one thing to keep in mind, because I feel like it could be forgotten quite easily.
Yeah, definitely. But I think this one's pretty amazing for just a common as well.
Yeah, you play it every turn, right? It's basically it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to charge a unit of warriors, you would be putting it on the activation ability anyway. So you might as well put it on here and get some extra damage.
Yeah. All right. Next up, and I got the easy ones, is Skuta. Shooting reaction. It's only for manipul units. Cancel the first casualty suffered during this shooting attack. I guess it's easy, not too hard to understand. You just cancel 1 casualty that you would take. It's good, of course, because it's after rolling for defense dice, but it's also 1 uncommon, and I feel like uncommons are rare on this board, or like you need a lot of them. So this is the only way to defend against shooting, and yeah, sometimes you might not have the dice for this. So it's a good ability, and it's going to help out, but it's only like it's not a game changer, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, like you said, the uncommon is in a high demand, especially in the right hand column.
Yeah.
So no, but it's like you said, it is the only option you have. It's a lot better than a combat bonus, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
All right, so this is exhortation. This is a common plus an uncommon. An orders or orders reaction. Until the end of this turn, all friendly units with an M of your warlord, L if he is a consul, gain either 2 attack dice or 2 defense dice during every melee. Just purely in an orders reaction capacity, this makes your units even more tanky if you decide to spend 4 dice both on the Stabili Gradu And on the exhortation, you'll be invincible, but you won't be doing much. And then on the other hand, I guess if you have a few charges lined up, you're actually, I guess you're getting a few extra dice there. But yeah, it seems quite expensive for what you're getting.
It's the only way to get the consul out of his 2 attacks that he's locked into, because he can get, like, because these are bonus attack dice, right? So he would start with 4 attack dice and then can use other abilities to get his attack dice up to 8 possibly. But if you have like 4 charges lined up in one turn, this is probably okay to do. And if you know you're gonna get charged a lot.
One thing to note for this ability is that you do only get the bonus if your unit is currently within M of your warlord. So for example, if you trigger this in your orders phase and then you move your unit up out of M of your warlord, you lose this. So you do need to be very conscious of your positioning for this one.
Yeah, it's kind of like you move your warlord up and then try to do all the charges within M of him to get the bonus, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So you have to also make sure that you're not getting in your own way. And
yeah.
And another thing is, if you lose your warlord, you lose this ability to play this. So
maybe don't charge him in first and risk him.
Yep. So pro tip. All right.
Next up is Gladius. It takes a common or a rare. It's a melee ability only for warriors on foot again, so kind of favors your warriors on foot, just like Pelum did. It's gain 3 attack dice. If you use a rare, the enemy unit must discard 3 attack dice. I feel like for a common, this is very good. It's obviously way better than a combat bonus, but it's also way more specific than a combat bonus. But if you know you're going to play it for the warriors on foot anyway, I feel like this is good. And with the rare, it's really, really good, because I feel like taking three attack dice away from your opponent, no matter if you attack them or they attack you, it's going to be super annoying either way. So that's kind of I feel like a really good ability.
Yeah, if you both on the defensive side, like if you're getting charged, you can close ranks and still get a few bonus or attack dice back. And then also, if you are actually charging and someone closes ranks on you, with the rare, you can essentially just bring a unit of warriors down to 1 attack dice and not worry about getting any damage back. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and for example, if you charge levies with this, they're gonna have like levies, like with bow levies or javelin levies. They're gonna be so screwed because they can't even fight back. So
yeah, but it's guaranteed that like if you roll like 1 dice for the levies, you're always gonna get like that one damage through. Just
always.
Yeah. Levies tend to do that. So just beware. That's right. how the dice work.
Just to throw the average in here, if they're attacking your warriors, it's only going to be half the time. Just to clear that up real quick. We're not superstitious.
Right. Okay, so the next one is close formation. This is using either a common or a rare. Again, a melee ability for infantry. To gain 2 defense dice or 4 if your unit is outnumbered by the enemy unit. If you use a rare, you can also reroll any 1s or 2s scored by your defense dice. Yeah, so this is your ultimate defensive ability. So this is I think the 3rd or something defensive ability already. So yeah, for a common, it's pretty good. It's better than the combat bonus. I guess that's a recurring theme. But yeah, for the rare, however, we've kind of required a few rares now to buff it up already. It's pretty amazing actually for defense dice, and then if you're I guess if you're outnumbered, which you probably would be as a Roman, I guess.
As manipulate, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like just being able to reroll the 1s or 2s if you're closing ranks is already pretty amazing. So this one's good, but the rares are starting to become pretty sought after on this board, to be honest. So
for sure.
It's going to be quite a close competition to see where that rare lands.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the Byzantine board, I think, where the abilities have the normal version that you can play easily, and then the rare version, which is like the really good version of the ability, and this is happening here again. And just to throw it out here, I think this is also amazing on your warlord if you decide to take the normal Saga warlord on foot, because he's almost always going to be outnumbered.
Yeah, I guess you're with the presence rule that you're gonna be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still only 4 models, so like if everything other than anything other than a opposing warlord or a 4-stagger Hearthguard is basically gonna outnumber you if they actually want to deal damage to you. So I feel like this is super good on a warlord if he can close ranks.
Yeah. Good
Or on
catch.
Hearthguard. Yeah. All right. Next up is not a defensive ability. This is actually a really good ability, I think. It's called Quincunx or Quincunx. It takes an uncommon. It's an activation for infantry. Choose up to 2 of your units within M of each other. Activate these units for a move made with a bonus distance of short. During this movement, these units can freely move through friendly infantry units. So this is obviously very, very powerful on levies with javelins, for example, because they can go through your defensive line and throw their javelins. Or this is also really powerful on Hearthguard that have been hiding behind levies. Or this is always really powerful, I think, and it's only one uncommon to move 2 units. And for levies, this is obviously a steal, and for Hearthguard and Warriors, this is also quite good because you get 2 activations, and they're better than normal activations, and they can move through. They're further, and they can move through. It's like 3 things for 1 die. You get 2 activations, not just 1. You get a longer distance, and you can move through friendly infantry units. So I feel like this is a play it always ability.
Yeah. Also, you can activate 2 units of warriors for uncommon.
Yeah. If you roll up,
because sometimes you just don't end up rolling that many commons, and then you're kind of screwed if you have a warrior heavy warband sometimes. So that mitigates this a little bit. But maybe just to be clear, so if you decide to move through terrain, you lose the bonus, right? So you just go down to short anyway.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate, but just don't move through terrain for this one.
Yeah.
Then it's amazing.
Yeah, I agreed.
Okay, so the next one is Tenacious. This is triggered using either a common or an uncommon. Again, a melee ability for maniple units only. If your unit is outnumbered by its opponent, gain attack dice equal to the difference in figures between the 2 units, up to a maximum of 4 dice. So do check your FAQ for this one. It's been FAQ'd, as we just discovered ourselves. Yeah, I guess you already want to be... This is another outnumbered one. But yeah, it's a good way of gaining for attack dice if you're heavily outnumbered. But I think some of the other ones are a little bit better, like Gladius. It's easier to trigger for also a common. So yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, this is fine. I feel like if you're going all in on a attack, and you're going in with like, I don't know, 6 Hearthguard or something, this is probably going to be worth it if you're going into like a 10 or 12 man unit, and then Gladius, of course, as well, and you can do a lot of damage offensively as well with this board, I feel like.
Yep. Yeah.
Right, next up is Legion. It takes an uncommon or a rare. It's an Orders or Orders reaction. Choose a manipul unit. Remove a fatigue from the chosen unit and from all other manipul units within short if you used a rare. So for an uncommon, you can remove a fatigue, which is meh, I feel like. If you have to, because you have 2 fatigues and you need to rest and you need to do some stuff, or for objective-based scenarios where you need to get stuff home or where you need to get somewhere quick, this might be worth it, but I feel like usually a uncommon for just 1 fatigue is not worth it. But of course, this one can totally shine if you put a rare here and take 3-4 fatigues off from your units that all charged with the exhortation before. That gave you like 2 bonus attack dice per melee within M of your warlord. So this can be good, I feel like, but it's probably usually going to be the rare that's going to be super good or super helpful here. But as you said before, JP, rares are really rare on this board, and the last ability also takes a rare, so you need them.
Yeah, for the rare, this is super efficient, especially because you can play it in the order's reaction, like you said. So you can actually start your opponent's turn relatively fresh, which is
Yeah.
great. So, like again, that really boosts your survivability. You're ready to go again, actually. All right, so final one. So Ad Triarios Redisa. So this is a rare. No other dice can be used for this. Again, a melee option. Hearthguard Defenders, which is super specific.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a theme for this one that you can't. You really need to pay attention to when you can actually use this. So if your Hearthguards are charged, you inflict 2 automatic hits on your opponent, or 3 if your unit is outnumbered by the enemy. So this is I charged a unit of Hearthguard with my goals, and they got absolutely destroyed by this.
Of course,
Brutal.
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this is totally worth a rare. So this makes them really really scary, because even if you're just even if you want your Hearthguard to survive, you just close ranks. It doesn't matter. These aren't bonus dice or anything. They're just hits automatically. So literally don't care.
I guess even one single Hearthguard that is defending can still hit, like add like 3 automatic hits on your opponent, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, that's it's not like easy to wipe off the board completely riskless. So
Yeah.
I guess you're saving that dice potentially. But yeah, it's a good one. I think the if you roll a rare, there's just a few other options which are also incredibly good. So that makes it very difficult to put it on here, because I think you also ensure that your Hearthguard unit probably won't be charged if you put it on here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which can be a viable option. For example, if they're holding a piece of or an objective or a piece of terrain or something like that, you basically plonk them down, and nobody's going to want to charge them. Obviously, again, this doesn't affect being shot at, so there is that. However, if someone's shooting against Hearthguard on foot, they're normally pretty solid anyway, so they'll be able to withstand a lot.
Right. So that's all the abilities. So what is your impression, JP? What do you think?
Yeah, so I have a warband kind of unfinished now for possibly a year and a half.
Yeah. Same, by the way.
Yes. the Victrix models are quite repetitive, so I finished a unit and a half, and I was like, oh, okay, there's quite a few more to go. But I actually think they're one of the more powerful Roman boards, and kind of straightforward to use. The way I've organized mine are 2 points of Hearthguard on foot, obviously, 3 points of warriors, and 1 point of levy with javelins, just to be able to screen a little bit and have a little bit of shooting.
Yeah.
And then obviously take advantage of the Queen Cook's rule to run them around a little bit and use them as a screen. Yeah, I think they're fine if you're fighting a purely melee faction. However, then they're going to be very scary. However, if you have some shooting, I think Numidians they're going to have some issues with. Your Carthaginians, they're probably going to get a shot off, depending on how they build their warband. So I think
and some Gaul builds, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the Gauls, they can also have the option to kind of switch one unit to being a shooting unit instead of a melee unit once a turn. So that might be a little bit difficult as well. But yeah, I think they're quite scary actually if they load up their board. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, I think we'll see a lot of Roman warbands out there, because they are kind of the poster boys of the age.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they're gonna play super well into warbands that don't bring shooting for whatever reason. So they're probably gonna win those matches by a lot, and then Numidians, if played right, are gonna absolutely shred these Romans. because they can't quite catch up. I feel like not with everything, and they can't survive the shooting for more than 1 or 2 rounds. So the whole warband is kind of situational. If you play the right opponent, this is going to be amazing, and if you don't, you're going to have a hard time or like an uphill battle from the start.
Yeah, I also think the almost every single one of these abilities has a kind of like a condition attached to it. So it's either a maniple, or it's I guess it's the Hearthguard defenders, or it's warriors on foot, or just infantry. So it makes it quite. You have to be careful about and have a pretty good plan of what you're actually gonna want to do, because you can't trigger all of these abilities that easily. So I think that makes it a little bit more difficult than some of the other boards as well.
I agree.
I think it's a pretty solid one in the end. It's pretty middle of the pack, I would say.
How many pilums out of 5 would you give them?
I think I would give them a three pilums. Like they're good, not great, but I think maybe the playstyle I like a little bit more movement. I like a little bit more kind of mobility. Taking warriors off on horses, I think you lose out on pretty much all of the abilities on the board, so it becomes less optimal to take them. So you do lose a lot of mobility there. So I'm based purely on the way I like running war bands. I like a little bit more mobility here, but they're pretty solid.
Yeah, I think you did this to me a while back. I'd give them 4.5 out of 5 pilums. No, I'd give them 4.5 out of 5 gladius and like 2 out of 5 pilums, because they're gonna have a hard time shooting back, or like against a shooting warband, and they're gonna have an amazing time again into melee warbands.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like they liked when people got close and they could just stab them to death with their little tiny swords.
Tiny swords, yeah.
All right.
All right, let's real quick, let's talk about the dice. They use special Republican Roman dice that are not used anywhere else, so they have a...
Yeah, I actually think aesthetically these dice are very nice.
Right, cool, yeah.
I think they're one of the more nicely designed dice facings, because I think they capture the kind of like the Roman aesthetic really well, with the gladius as a common, was it
Romulus?
That's one, and the wreath of the laurel wreath as the rare. So good vibe.
Well done. All right, so model choices. What would you buy? What did you buy? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so I bought. Victrix has a number of sets. They have Republican Romans set number 1 and Republican Romans set number 2.
I think it's Warriors of the Republic 1 and 2. Yeah,
that's close enough. And one basically everyone has a like chainmail. The other one everyone has like a little bronze breastplate, and they're a little bit lighter. So I've got the one with everyone has chainmail, and then you also have enough to build 12 levy with javelins with no armor.
Yeah.
So I think efficiency-wise, I believe it's the Warriors of Republic number 2 with the chainmail.
It's the one.
Oh, my bad. It's number 1. That essentially you get an entire warband for 33 euros. Can't beat it on price. But the only downside is the models are really made to be ranked up in a block. So if in a kind of skirmish game, they're a little bit kind of monopose for that. But
like one-dimensional, right?
Yeah, very. They have differences, but kind of after the first 8 warriors that you painted, it's a little bit repetitive. And then differentiating between the warriors and the Hearthguard is a little bit difficult. So I gave them the kind of like the longer, beefier spears, and they got to keep their little plumes on their helmets. And all the warriors, I cut off their.
I did the same.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm probably going to break a lot of these anyway, so I'm just going to cut them off now, and then I can differentiate between the Hearthguard and the warriors. And then I painted them, and then basically the shield blocks 80% of the model anyway. So just paint the shields. Really really don't bother about the rest of the model, and then they'll probably look fine.
But you're right. Yeah, the for a modeling for someone that wants to model very beautiful or like kit bash very beautiful models, I think the set is not great because it's very one-dimensional. All the figures kind of look the same. But for a starter, this is amazing. It's like, yeah, like $35 to get the whole warband. Everything's in there. It's like 7 or 8 points depending on how you play it. It's really really good.
Yeah, also if you get some of those shield decals as well, then you're I think even with a mediocre paint job, they'll look pretty good. So
Yeah.
I think the nice thing about Roman armies as well is you can make them a little bit uniform more than others and get away with it. I don't know how accurate it was during this Republican era, but still you can kind of get away with it. And further, I guess you can also use the Samnites kit from Victrix, because they were obviously, I think at this point, they were kind of under the thumb of the Romans as a kind of one of their client kingdoms. So you can probably get away with playing the Samnites and using those models as these Romans. So
They
you have,
almost look identical. They
yeah,
only have different shields.
yeah. So just a little bit of a variation there.
Cool. All right. So, do you have any metals to recommend for this one?
No, not really. I mean, like they exist. The Gripping Beast has them. A few others, but like for me, it's just the not having the hassle of kind of or just being able to buy a Victrix bag for relatively cheap and having an entire warband. It was too
It's pretty
tempting,
good.
really.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I decided not to look any further.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. All right. I guess that sums up the episode.
Indeed, that's the first one for Age of Hannibal. So
Yeah, and I'm really excited to go further into Age of Hannibal and talk about the other factions because I feel like there's some very unique type factions in there. So I'm looking forward to it.
all right, and hopefully we'll be ready for Age of Alexander coming in the fall. Pure speculation there. But we'll see. So yeah,
Timing should work out. Yeah.
yeah, it should work out. So we'll be good. If not, we're gonna have to pad some episodes and hit the ruses and all the mercenaries and
Mm-hmm. And
legendary.
some tournament stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll have the timing perfect. All right. Thank
Right.
you very much for joining us on this #1 Age of Hannibal episode. So more coming up. Thanks again, and speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.